Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. And there seems to be some truth to the idea that Warner Bros. Discovery is specifically purging out all woke, or rather, divisive left-wing content off of their platform. Now, this comes from former HBO Max executives who obviously have an axe to grind against the company, and David Zaslav, who, terminated them. But one thing I think is really interesting is David Zaslav has been going through and purging content off of these platforms, and a lot of it, the vast majority, seems to be projects that are like, I don't know, you would just classify them as being woke. Not everything, though. Like I pointed out, the Harley Quinn cartoon is still, I think it was just recently renewed, and I feel like you could classify that as being more on the woke side of things, if anything. So I don't think it's like an ideological purge. I think what they're doing is they're looking at the projects and they're going, these don't make us any money. And they're looking at the new projects that are coming up and they're like, well, these are just like these old projects that aren't making us any money. I mean, I'm sure that if it's like something where they're getting a ton of views on it regularly, they're going to want to keep it. Right? It just makes sense to do that, kind of like they're doing with Harley Quinn. But anyways, back onto the main point here. It seems like these HBO Max execs aren't actually upset with the content being removed. They're upset with the fact that the staff is going to apparently be too white. Yes. I don't even know what to say here. I really don't. I'm in full support of everything David Zaslav's doing at the company. In fact, I want him to do more. Because I just can't with these people. I mean, look at this. I don't think anyone knows just how white the staff is, said one recently let go executive, while another separately speculated these cuts left maybe one black woman executive on the HBO side. Maybe. Did you hire executives to work at this company based on their fucking skin color? Because I'm pretty sure that's what they did, right? And then it's like you hire these people based on their immutable characteristics. They did, right? And they produced pure trash because that's what the company wanted. Right? They wanted the woke shit. They wanted, what is it? Diversity, inclusion, and equity. They wanted die. They wanted death for the company. They got death for the company. And now we're going through the resurrection. So that's all biblical in some sort of sense. Zaslav's cuts have amplified the lack of diversity at HBO, added yet another ex-exec. HBO is the most homogenous part of this umbrella. Instead of trying to figure out how to integrate some of the Max executives into HBO, they just made this sweeping cut of 3 divisions: kids, family, and international. A lot of black and brown people lost their jobs, they concluded. You know what? It's so nice of you to understand and see them and see only their skin color. I don't know who any of these people are. You're not telling me that they were any good for the company. If anything, what you did was argue that these executives that have been tanking the company, why weren't they moved over? Why didn't they get a site? Like, why weren't they just moved over to a different department? Yeah, sure, they failed utterly, epically on every level, but why didn't you just give them another job? The fact that you didn't give them another job is really concerning. It's making me feel like this is all racism. I don't know how anyone is supposed to react to this stuff anymore. It's the same thing, just regurgitated and thrown back into our faces over and over and over again. As to why these cuts were being made, as per the Daily Beast's own recollection of their conversations with the anonymous interviewees, the former Warner's employee believes these changes are just as much about business as they're about reshaping the ideological perception of Warner's properties. It all points to the same end, they say: a rejection of left-wing or highly diverse content, divisive content, in favor of a more homogenous, middle America-friendly fare, summarized the outlet, before attempting to infer an ulterior motive to Zaslav's plan. The lack of diversity in content staff might just make that goal easier. You know what? It's because they say stuff like this that you're just like, what they wanted HBO Max to be was an ideological outlet for them, right? They wanted They wanted content that reaffirmed their values, their views, and their opinions. They enjoyed content that mocked the people that they don't like. And anything else was rejected. Now they're losing that. Now they're losing that in many different ways, but they're specifically losing it by anything run by Warner Bros. Discovery, and they're losing their minds. Anyways, as the article finishes up here, they go into like the final statements from the interview, and it just sort of confirms to me that the right decision was made here. Because, again, their main thing that they're upset about is, that the staff is going to be super white. But, well, let's just talk about this. In terms of people seeing themselves reflected, whether it's ethnic or LGBTQ, when you have people who are diverse, the lens which they evaluate content factors in things that I think my white colleagues just don't think about, said one of the anonymous respondents. Another asserted, it's deep. What are they going to do with this disproportionate amount of people of color that were let go? They asked. They need to replace them in some capacity, or do they not care? That's what we've been told, that they just don't care. You know what? They shouldn't care. They shouldn't care. You know what's everything's wrong with these people who were justly fired and should not be hired by anybody, but they will find jobs working elsewhere? Is they look at people, they look at their skin color, and that's how they assign value. It's not like they're saying why these executives were so good that were fired, right? Like something that these executives actually brought to the table. All it is they were black and female and maybe gay. I don't even know how to say this anymore. These people look at individuals' immutable characteristics and assign them values like points, right? You get 1 point for being a minority, 2 points if you're black, you get an additional point if you're female, and another point if you're part of a queer identity. 2 if it's not just gay. It's got to be something that's even crazier than that. I hope you don't think that's me making fun of people of minority statuses. I am one. My wife is one. My wife is also a member of the queer community. I don't care. I don't have any issues with it whatsoever. What I have issues with are when people will look at my wife, right, and say that because she's a black female who falls into the queer identity, that means that she will have more value or less value than another human being, right? I much like I want people to see me as a person on their level, I would like people to do that same thing for my wife, right? I think that that's the only way we move forward, is if we show each other mutual respect and we stop with this bullshit. This needs to end. This needs to go away. And again, I will say this as many times as I need to. What Warner Bros. Discovery did here by firing these executives was the right call. Again, I don't know if these executives are telling the truth. It could just be that they're upset that they got fired justly. They deserved it. But I understand, and I do know, based on the shit that they were saying in their based on the shit they said in that interview, that they deserve to be fired, and that should be celebrated.